Hey guys, Thomas Jr. here, aka Mustache Tom, here with my top 15 movies of 2015. I'm extremely sorry for the delay of this list, but thanks to the copyright strike, I had to wait and record this once again as I wanted to really take my time with listing each reason why I thought each movie deserved to be on my list. Now, before I get into that, there are some movies I just didn't get to see, or either one or particular movie that you might have thought have been on your list may not be on mine. This is my opinionated list, so let's just keep that in mind as I count down my personal 15 movies of 2015. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Avenging their way into the number 15 spot. Yep, that's right. In our number 15 spot, we have the Avengers. I liked seeing our Avengers once again come together to stop evil in its tracks, and I really appreciated giving much needed time to develop Hawkeye. That was greatly appreciated. However, the one issue or main issue I have with this movie is its villain. Holy crap, was Ultron disappointing to me. I mean, there could have been so much done with this guy, and yet they turned him into an even worse cliche than Loki, again, in my opinion. Every time I saw him on the screen and he wasn't doing his creepy intro thing, I was thinking, man, just facepalm. Oh, just come on. But still, overall, the Avengers Age of Ultron was still an overall positive experience, except the actual villain himself. Like I said, I like seeing all the teammates reassemble, and I'm sure I'll be looking forward to whenever they assemble again. Anyways, the teamwork was great, the chemistry was great, the characters individually all great, all well done, and that's why it earns my 15th spot on this list. Impossibly spying its way into the number 14 spot. Coming in at 14, Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I really liked him coming back with his crew and once again facing an opposition. And once again, the opposition is a little threatening here, but it's still. And some of the teamwork is here and there. But I particularly do enjoy the relationship between him and Simon in this movie. I really felt an interesting connection, and it was just really interesting to see them face a foe that was very similar to how they operate. And yeah, this movie did beat its other thing. I forgot what the other movie is already. See, um, and anyway, I really like the connection here. You know, a bit more could have sufficed, but all in all, it was still a really enjoyable film. So that's why it gets my 14th spot. Shrinking his way into the number 13 spot. At 13, we have AntMan. This movie I felt was a little bit better than Avengers, and yeah, it did connect to the Avengers, and that's all fine and good, but I really like the story. I think, as many others have said, the characters or the actors portraying these characters did a really good job, even though they did have to get over some really heavy cliches. I mean, the whole daughter and father thing and the whole that thing, it was whatever to me. I'm sure that might have gotten to some people a little bit more. And the villain I felt could have been, again, here, a bit more opposing. But that can't deny that I had a really fun time by the time we got to the climax, which I thought was probably a lot better than the Avengers climax. I can't even remember the Avengers climax at this point. I remember them fighting here on the Thomas the Tank Engine. I remember them shrinking and growing it in the growing of the ant and all that stuff. So that ending to me was way more memorable than whatever happened in the Avengers. So that's why I put this slightly above the Avengers and over Rogue Nation, and why it gets my top, why it earns my 13th spot. Clawing its way into the number 12 spot. Coming at number 12 is actually quite a surprise to me. The Lobster. I actually kind of really enjoyed this movie. The premise was pretty interesting, and this world that they were building was also interesting. The characters were a bit one dimensional, but I think it does serve some sort of purpose. One of the issues I do have with this movie is I wish there could have been a bit more world building. I kind of did miss this in my review because it didn't click with me until later on about the city being associated with these guys that are pro couple or whatever you want to call it. Um, and it really was well done from a character to character standpoint. We follow these two characters as they grow this bond and want to be together, but they're in this crosshair of a relationship that shouldn't be. And I found myself really enjoying that. It was kind of different, which is why, for the main part, it earns my number 12 spot. If you haven't checked it out, give it a chance. Surviving their extreme conditions to end up in the 11th spot. Yes, my number 11 choice is a bit of a cheat out, as I'm picking two movies instead of just one of them, as I felt both of these movies have very similar premises, are both based on true events, and both deal with surviving circumstances that are extreme. First, with the 33 getting stuck in this mine, and and Everest dealing with climbing the mountain, and then coming back down with extreme weather. I thought both of them were really well handled, and I really felt a connection with the characters in both movies, and they are both really shot well. The actors in both movies have done well, and I was able to connect even slightly to the situations at hand. So I commend both movies for going out of their way to provide an excellent source of entertainment while telling these real life stories. So sorry for cheating, but these two movies were way too similar for me to pick one over the other, so I'm just gonna stick them both into my 13th spot. This Mars movie gets the number 10 spot. At number 10, we have The Martian. I really like this story, and just as my review of this movie has said, I think space movies of this caliber have been killing it for the past 3 years. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, I'll try to leave a link in where the movie is. I'll try my best to do that. Anyways, Matt Damon does a brilliant performance, and whether the science is fake or not, or pseudoscience, whatever it is, I was willing to suspend my disbelief and really follow in this adventure because I really wanted this guy to make it. I mean, he was confident, even though when he felt broken down, it was just an exhilarating movie to watch from beginning to end. There was very little times where I was bored or anything like that. So, and each situation gets worse and worse, of course, and desperate times call for desperate measures. It's just a really fun ride. So, it definitely earned my number 10 spot for me. Pewing its way into the number 9 spot. And here comes the one I'm sure plenty of fans are gonna kill me over since it's not higher on my list. Star Wars The Force Awakens. Yes, I put it on my number 9 spot. Why so high? Look, I enjoyed the movie. It was pretty fun, and it was fun to see the new characters and the classic characters and all that fun stuff. But, I mean, there are quite a few plot holes that I was just wondering, like, wait, what? And it did take me out of the movie twice. I want to estimate there twice, question mark. And I could make a separate video asking about these plot holes, and I'm pretty sure that they'll both be answered in the sequels, but who knows? I don't know. I'm just a reviewer, so I found this movie okay, and yeah, I mean, it was a fun ride in space and the pew pew laser beams. I didn't mind. I enjoyed having different characters come in and all that stuff, and it's okay to have your opinions. Please don't kill me for putting this in my number 9 spot, please. Okay. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Clutching his way into the number 8 spot. Number 8, The Peanuts Movie. The animation is really solid, and I found myself really enjoying this movie. And I actually do really like this connection between Charlie Brown and Snoopy, as whenever Charlie Brown went through a situation, Snoopy would sort of act as this catalyst, and those moments were a bit long, but I didn't mind all too much, as Charlie Brown is trying to win over the red-haired girl, and through trials and tribulations, he eventually finds his way. And yeah, I definitely was able to connect to all of that, and I really enjoyed the ending of this movie, as it was sweet. Even though the message is a bit obvious, I was still able to enjoy that. The red haired girl reaction to everything, even though we don't really see her all too much. I mean, we don't hear for her, from what I should say instead, but it was still enjoyable to see all the characters interacting and all that good stuff. So it was a pleasantly surprising movie considering who made it, the company I'm saying. But anyways, yeah, it earns my number 8 spot. So there we go. Crazily driving its way into the number 7 spot. Coming in at 7, Mad Max Fury Road. Now I know what people are saying. Oh, this movie's too basic to be on a movie list. Look, I had a fun ass time. And if there was an award for most metal movie of 2015, I'm pretty sure this would be that movie. This was just metal as all hell. Oh, I just had a blast from beginning to end. Even with such a simplistic story, I couldn't help get attached to these characters, especially Furiosa. She stole this movie from me. Her performance was great. The expressions, the very minimalistic dialogue, it was able to carry itself, and it knew exactly when to take a break so we could allow ourselves to breathe. And there are a few things that aren't all clear, but what we did see was still enough. And it's crazy. I had a blast, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And yeah, it's a pretty awesome movie despite all the controversy, but whatever. I was able to get over that easily. People are just crazy if they're saying all this other stuff. Whatever. It definitely earns my spot as number 7. Rappers assemble into the number 6 spot. Coming at number 6, Straight Out of Compton, this documentary esque movie was really good, and I really found myself attached to this movie. As I stated in my review, I actually grew up with listening to rap music, and it sort of found its way back into my life, even after I've sort of been all over the place with music lately. But enough about me. This movie, I feel, did a really good job of portraying each rapper really well done, and I felt each rapper had their moment to shine, and through the trials and tribulations of dealing with the police and dealing with, controversy among rappers, this story I felt was really well depicted. Probably one of the better rapper stories out there, probably the best one actually. As I felt it, even if there were moments that were sort of fantasized, if you will, I still felt in the moment of everything that was happening. So, this was a surprisingly good documentary with some maybe. I couldn't even tell. Like, that's how good it was. Like, I couldn't detach what was fantasy esque and was what was happening. So, it's definitely a movie that I think a lot of music people will appreciate, and maybe just people in general. I think it's a really fun and enjoyable documentary, so that's why it gets my number 6 spot. Surviving an unexpected attack earns its way into the number 5th place. Another huge surprise in my number 5 spot, Bone Tomahawk. This horror movie puts every other horror movie that has come out this year and perhaps in the past 5 years to shame. To absolute shame. I don't even know if that's an opinion. This movie was fantastically done. I was invested in the characters in this horror movie. Something I haven't said in such a long time to either myself or other people that I talk to horror movies about. This was such a breath of fresh air to follow these four men and just see what befalls them. It is brutal as all heck, and I was completely in every moment of it. And when that scene happens with the cannibalism or the brutal part, it's tough to watch, and it's just insane. And I just want to put this out there. I have nothing against ghosts in movies, but I'm kind of getting sick of them after terrible movies dealing with ghosts. I'm talking about your Paranormal Activity, your The Gallows, movies of that nature have really run their course as of late. So, again, this was just a breath of fresh air. And as I said, following these characters and wanting them to survive. That's how you make a good horror movie. That's horror movie 101. If you don't invest in the characters, then you just want them to die and you don't feel fear for them. You can't place your fear anywhere if you have any to begin with. I mean, all you're doing is jump scares, and yeah, that's a quick gimmick, but it doesn't work in the long run. People get tired and sick of it if you just keep depending on it non-stop. So, this movie was probably my greatest surprise, and if you have not seen this movie, I would really recommend it, especially if you're a fan of horror. I think this was an absolute treat. So, if you happen to see Bone Tomahawk in the DVDs whenever it comes out, definitely consider giving it a pickup. It's my number 5, and again, I just can't recommend it enough. Thinking its way into the number 4 spot. At number 4, Inside Out. This movie was fantastic. Now, I know other reviewers may be on one side of the fence or the other, but this premise, in my opinion, has never been as done well as it has been done here in Inside Out. And I just found myself really wanting to follow the characters of Riley, Joy, Sadness, as it does mainly focus on those three characters. And the other characters have their moments, no doubt. I was really surprised when the emotions, being emotions, actually sort of hinted at having other emotions. It's like they're three-dimensional characters. That's crazy talk. But this movie pulls it off. And not only that, it does a really well job of presenting something that's such a huge concept and delivers it in such a way that I think kids can truly understand some of these concepts, as deep and compelling as abstract thought. All of this stuff has been so well executed in this movie. Now, I'm not going to deny that I personally didn't laugh all too much in this movie. As I was on the other side of the spectrum, I actually found myself getting all teary eyed in this movie, as I felt this movie had two of the best moments of 2015, one being a scene and one being a concept. So I'll talk about the scene first. And when I first saw this scene, I was getting ready to cringe and say this movie is the worst and blah blah blah. And then I saw the scene. So the scene I'm talking about involves Riley introducing herself to the classroom. And when I first saw this, I was looking to the right of her. I was seeing these three girls, I think it was. And they were talking with each other, and I really thought they were gonna go for a cliche three girls interrupt her, they end up being the bully characters, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want any of that, and I was so relieved. It was, pun intended, mind blowing. Sorry, I'm so sorry for that, but it really was something I didn't see coming for miles away. The fact that they just sat there and respected her telling her story was just so refreshing. I mean, it was almost as if these kids were like, hey, we understand this. Even though we might have never gone through with it, tough things happen in life. And I just really appreciate this scene for holding itself out in this way, letting her finish her story. And the emotions she felt in that period were perfect. Now, the other thing I will talk about is that one of the other concepts. And the character to me wasn't necessarily the best thing of the movie, but I would say that his concept was really well done. And I'm talking, of course, about Bing Bong. Like I said, this character isn't all that particularly interesting ish. It's serviceable at best. But like I said, his concept is really fascinating. Being an imaginary character, and yeah, I'm gonna include a spoiler alert here, I guess, if you haven't seen it. Uh, he vanishes as he falls into this like pit of lost memory orbs or whatever they're called, or spheres. I thought dealing with this imaginary friend and letting him go and doing it in this way was, dare I say, close to perfection. I was so invested in this moment because it hits on a personal level for me. As I said in my review, I had an imaginary friend, and it somewhere along the line it just sort of went away for a while, and then I put that imaginary character to another use. But enough of that. All in all, I found Inside Out to be a really enjoyable movie, and I completely felt invested, even if there were moments here and there that were, say, weakish. I still found the concept breathtaking and some of its moments very striking, which is why it earns my number 4 spot. Tensions rise as we arrive at our number 3 spot. Coming in at number 3, The Hateful Eight. You know, I think a movie is successful if you can describe it in one word. And that one word for me, and probably a majority of people who've seen this movie, was tension. Wow. I've never felt a tension like that in a long ass time, especially during a movie. So, its characters so well done. I felt like I could have been in that cabin room just like, oh, I don't want any of this nonsense. No siree. Like I said, the tension in that room, probably you could have cut it with a knife, whatever expression you want to use. Um, and its characters so well fascinating. And I'm gonna say this, and I know I'm gonna upset somebody probably. There's probably a pretty big plot hole in this movie. And yes, because of how good it was, I was able to overlook that plot hole. And again, if you want me to talk about that plot hole, I'll be sure to cover that in a separate video. For now, I found this movie to be quite enjoyable, fun characters, excellent music. The musical score in this definitely got everything where it needed to go. It helped move the tension in just the right way. The positioning of everything was just where it needed to be. And like I said, every performance was really well handled. I don't think there was any weak performances in this movie at all, so it definitely stands out and is why I picked it as my number 3 choice. Surviving a bear attack to earn its number 2 spot. At number 2, The Revenant. This movie was fantastic from the beginning. I mean, just that intro was you I was in. I was invested, and then boy did that bear attack look freaking realistic as all hell. I mean, I was my mouth I'm pretty sure was gaped open. I was like, "Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio, you okay over there, buddy?" Um but the other great performance definitely comes from Tom Hardy in this movie. And that's the second time I've mentioned, I didn't mention him in the other review, but I'll mention him here because he really stands out in this movie more than he probably did in Mad Max, obviously. Uh, this is a standout role for him, I believe, and also a pretty good role for Leonardo DiCaprio to show off what he's capable of doing, and he does a really good job. Uh, I mean, I guess he learned another language. I'm pretty sure that was all official, like that whatever language that was. But anyways, I like the story of revenge and all that stuff, and I really, really liked how they handled the ending. Like, they could have gone with a more cliche ending, but I feel like the ending is sort of left to interpretation, which is always a pretty good thing. I mean, I guess you could ask people, I mean, people probably demand like a sequel, although that probably wouldn't make sense in this case. I mean, it is. I think it was based either on a book or real life events or something. One of those two. Anyways, it was just a really fun experience. I was invested for the majority of this movie, so I definitely think it's worth my number 2 spot. And if you want to check it out, and if you haven't already, definitely check it out. It's worth watching, and it's why, again, it's on my number 2. Digitizing its way to the number 1 spot. And my number 1 movie is Digimon Try. Now I know what you're saying to yourselves. This is probably an extremely biased choice, as if you've seen my channel, you would probably know that I am a fan of Digimon. And yes, I will admit that I am a fan of Digimon. I grew up with Digimon, but I had definite worries for this movie when it was coming out. And when I saw it, I was blown away. The animation was fantastic, way better than the original movie and way better than the series. Everything was so fluid. Every impact, every little detail was just so well improved in this movie. So, the other thing I wanted to mention is I really appreciate what they did with Ty in this movie, making him a character that actually is concerned about the environment around him. That's been severely lacking, I felt, in the original movies and the series as well. And it makes perfect sense for him to be the one to worry, as he technically could be considered the leader of the group. I mean, I'm sure somebody will argue that it could also be Matt, but, for the purposes of this, we'll just say it's Ty. And his character changing, as I said, it made perfect sense to me. Anyway, the character I felt that stole this movie and is now my favorite first original tamer is Mimi, as I felt this character was the funniest character in the entire movie and made me laugh more than I've probably laughed in most, if not the majority, of comedies I've seen in probably the past 5 years. I'm talking about official comedies that lack laughter and Mimi in a movie that I'm pretty sure wasn't even meant to be fully comedic, made me laugh more than any of those moments ever could. Now, while Mimi made me laugh the most consistently, the biggest laugh I got was out of Joe, as he had a moment with the 3 female characters in TK for. I'm guessing that's supposed to mean that TK is a feminine character, and I can actually sort of see why they would do that, but what he says, and I'll just say it, I guess it'll be a spoiler. He says he has a girlfriend, and the females' reaction and TK's are just, it was just a laugh riot, I guess I'll use that word. I was laughing well into the next scene, and probably even a bit more chuckling after the afterthought of Joe having a girlfriend, and just seeing the Tamer's reaction to that. It was just a blast of comic relief. But one other thing I will mention is the villain. Now, I won't reveal here who the villain is, as I did do that in my review, and you'll probably see it in the analytics section right here to the right where the movie is. And this villain, he does not have a single line of dialogue, and I felt he was way more threatening than Kylo Ren. I mean, I'm thinking Kylo Ren wishes he could be this villain. I mean, this villain is just badass and has really bad intentions. The actions he takes were really mean and evil, and we don't even know why he's doing any of this. As I said, he doesn't have any dialogue, and toward the end of the movie, the amount of power this creature has, I will say creature, I won't say which one though, is definitely just like, god damn, like, jeez, this thing is powerful. Anyways, That was also fantastic. I only had one nitpick, one, and that was the new female character introduced. I kind of forgot what her name was, and I won't reveal too much about her, but I mean, there isn't too much to her in the first place, but I'm guessing there will be more movie here, like there will be like a sequel set as I've seen. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. But other than that, other good things about this movie, the musical score, it's Butterfly. I mean, god damn, that song is just so beautiful and so. I could listen to that song forever. So, yeah, it has a great score. The characters are all the ones that I know and can associate differently with each of them in different ways, and every interaction I can perfectly understand from previous experience. And even I think if you're walking in new, they leave enough hints in this movie to say this is this type of character and this is the character they might like or something. They leave enough obvious hints that if you're even new to the series, you'll probably kind of understand the concepts going in. So I will say that even a newcomer could understand this movie coming in. So that's just another plus for this movie. And that's that. Like I said, there was only one little thing that I found wrong with the movie, and it's not really, it doesn't necessarily all have to be bad. As I said, it's continuing. But overall, this was my favorite movie of 2015, and that's my 2015 best list. Now, coming up after this will be the worst movies of 2015, and boy, there were a lot of terrible movies in 2015. So I'll see you guys on that list.